excellence, and motivation. Always via Jim.
Hello, friends. Welcome to this week's episode of Great Employees Matter, the podcast that focuses on elevating employees from average to great and working with employers to teach them how to take full care of their most precious asset, their most valuable asset, their employees. Today we have a special situation because we have a special guest that just arrived in Las Vegas about half an hour ago, and we're pleased to have her come on to our set. Her name is Cheri. She is the proprietor, the owner of a company called Codebreaker Technologies. So she's going to share her experiences with us. And as you know, we just have a conversation and get to know each other and learn all about each other. And she will share with us those things that she uses to help elevate employees as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Koby so that he can bring us in properly.
Yeah, I just want to welcome everybody to the show. Every Tuesday, 2 o'clock, we do this and we have fun. My name is Koby Dumas. My co-host is Jimi Bingham, and remotely coming in is Lloyd Dix. And I want to just go ahead and get started and saying welcome to the show. Cheri, how are you? Welcome to Vegas.
Yeah, I'm doing great. Hi.
Yeah, so can you tell me, first of all, where are you from? Where are you from, Cheri?
I live in Laguna Beach, California, so just a short drive away.
Yeah, I love California. That's where I'm from, so we'll start there. Did you grow up there, or?
Nope, I was a military kid, so lived all over the world. I call my home Hawaii since I spent some junior high and high school years there, but lived in California the last 10, 15 years.
Okay, and obviously you like it. You're in Laguna Beach. That's probably a very nice area to be at.
Yeah, I love it.
Okay, so let's jump right into it. Can you tell me a little bit about what you do for a business currently?
Yeah, our company's called Codebreaker Technologies, and what it happened and kind of got created organically. To be honest, I was a salesperson. I was an entrepreneur and trying to build my own business and just having a hard time, struggling, trying to figure out the whole sales game. And it was in that process that I ended up inventing something that changed my entire financial trajectory. So in the sales world, different than the employee space, where I was more independent, entrepreneurial, had to make my own paycheck, close my own deals. You know, we got trained that sales is a numbers game. We got told that in order to get more yeses, you had to get more nos.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? We've all heard that before.
Well, mine was a little different. They say you got two buckets. One of them's a 5-gallon bucket and one of them's a small bucket. And you got to fill up the big bucket with the nose.
Ah, yeah, right. So it got me trapped in that go for no mentality. And you know, in order to get more yeses, you have to get more nos, that same bucket concept. And for 5 years, I bought into that philosophy, and I really struggled. My first year income was $700, like,
oh, wow.
For the whole year. I sucked at it.
Yeah.
And over a 5-year period, doing the hustle and grind, I'd gotten my income up to $72,000. And company said, "Hey, great job. You're doing a great job." And I thought, well, no, I'm not, because I'm totally broke. I'm 30 grand in credit card debt. I'm renting an apartment, can't even qualify for a home, and driving a broken salvage title BMW, playing the fake it till you make it game.
Oh, wow.
So I felt so out of integrity, you know, trying to sell the dream, but living a nightmare.
Well, let me ask you, what did you do before entrepreneurship?
I was an employee. I was working in companies, 2 companies specifically. I worked at REI headquarters up in Seattle, Washington area, with the outdoor camping back in college. I was a whitewater rafting guide, so I did the adventure route. And then I ended up transferring to Franklin Covey headquarters, where Stephen Covey leadership, and got into that path, which kind of sparked and ignited my entrepreneur spirit and leadership capacity. And so then from there, I left corporate America and ventured out to build my own book of business as a financial advisor, and I read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad and learned the difference. Robert Kiyosaki.
Yeah.
And wanted to figure out how to leverage my time and earn a lot more money than where I was at. So
let me ask you this. These are some pain questions. Did corporate kick you out into entrepreneurship? What was that transition?
Yeah, actually, at my REI job, which I really loved, but was feeling held back, and actually I put in a vacation request was going to Hawaii. My family was going to Hawaii, where I kind of grew up a good portion of my young years. From 1999 to 2000, it was New Year's Eve, and I wanted to be there for the big turning of the millennium, and they denied my vacation request, so I said I quit. And so I quit just before Christmas, and I had a great time, and then I got my new job at Franklin Covey and moved into that, and I was moonlighting as an entrepreneur, as a financial advisor part-time during that time, and started getting clients, and some of the clients were my coworkers, and then of course some of my peers got jealous and turned me into HR, and the next thing you know, I'm having lunch with one of my friends saying, you know, my job's really getting in the way of my entrepreneur path. It's starting to cost me money by having to clock in, and just as I was saying that, the HR director walked by looking for me to fire me. So,
See, I love these stories. I love these stories because it teaches corporate.
June 22nd, the year 2000. That was my last day of employment.
Wow,
I
what
love
a
it.
year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Between COVID.
Yeah. No, 20, the year 2000.
Oh,
Not 2020, 2000. So I haven't had a paycheck from another company since the year 2000. Yeah, that's what I meant.
I love it. Jimmy, go ahead.
I'd like to know a little more about your family history. So, was there anything in their childhood, you know, that whether their relationship with their family, good, bad, different, that you believe caused you to be the type of entrepreneur that you are today? What did they contribute to your development?
Partially. Well, first of all, we were a military family. So my dad was a fighter pilot in the Air Force, 6 kids. My mom was a school teacher. We traveled all over the world. So one of the first notable stories is we lived in France for 3 years. When I was 5 years old, we moved there. My parents decided to put me into French school, and I didn't speak any words of French. So, of course, I come home for my first day of kindergarten, and my mom is waiting for me, can't wait to hear what did I learn today. And I said, blah, 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 bonjour. Blah, 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 bonjour. And the reason that story is so funny is, of course, that's the only word that I understood. Well, when you fast forward to what I do now with Codebreaker, is I basically figured out how to communicate with other people, and that there is a code to communicate in. And if you fail to communicate in that code, all your customer hears is blah, 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 company name or buy my product. But they don't actually understand a word you're saying. And so that story was kind of the beginning of, I really craved understanding and connecting and communicating effectively, because foreign languages are great examples of things getting lost in translation.
Right. Well, that ended up being a great question.
Yeah.
So you were an Air Force brat.
Yes.
As was I.
Oh, awesome.
I was born in Okinawa, and my mother ended up marrying a serviceman. Brought us back here. We were at Travis for a short while, and then stationed in Nellis. So.
Okay. Well, that's part of why I was in Hawaii. My dad was stationed at Hickam Air Force Base for 3 years, so got to live there too.
So we're kindred spirits.
Yes.
Back to the employee side of what you do. So as an employee, what did you learn in your employee journey? You talked a little bit about it. What in your employee journey that caused you to get to the point where you developed Codebreaker technology?
Yeah, well, I think, I just last week got to speak at a huge HR conference. And one of the things that I shared from stage was there's a very big difference between an intrapreneur and an entrepreneur. And the reality is that if companies don't make their employees matter, then it's only a matter of time before that person is going to look for either another job or simply an exit to go launch their own thing. And for me, what happened was they undervalued the horsepower that I could bring to my job. And they did not get to harvest the entrepreneur spirit that I had naturally or authentically coming into the workplace. And therefore, it was only a matter of time before I switched and said, I'm going to be an entrepreneur and I'm going to go build my own business.
And is that a recommendation that you would give to most employees or select employees?
I think it depends. Not everybody would even be a great entrepreneur. I think, one of the stats I was just sharing at the conference was that only 23% of a workforce is engaged. So you're talking about 3 out of 4 people are not even engaged at work. And that is a massive cost in payroll dollars, in lack of efficiency, lack of productivity, and it's a drain on the organization. It's also a drain on morale and so forth. So there's a reason there is unharvested energy inside of people. And I feel like my understanding is if you know their code, or what I call the bank code, which is an acronym, and I'm happy to deconstruct it and explain it. If you know that and you know how to communicate and optimize that person, then you can tap into the best of them and harness a lot of unused energy that they're failing to bring to the workplace today. And I think that will transform a culture and a company.
I'd like to hear a lot more about bank. I saw the brief exposure to it. So why don't you tell us about bank, how it came to be developed, and then what the components of them.
Yeah, the irony is I built it for sales, but then we'll tie it back to employment. And our tagline is make people matter with what we do. And with you guys here, making employees matter. So the bank code is an acronym. And let me take you back to sales so that we understand the origin of it in the first place. Back when I was being told that sales was a numbers game, and that in order to get more yeses, you have to get more nos. For 5 years, I bought into that. I was sharing with you, and it didn't get me any results. It only got me more frustrated. Until I woke up and said, that's actually the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Because the truth is, in order to get more yeses, you have to get more yeses. So whether we're talking sales or let's talk about in your employee engagement, you need to get a yes. You need to get a buy-in, right? Collaboration, cooperation, communication, and so forth. So my thought was, okay, instead of going for no, I want to go for yes, and I want to get the yes. So how am I going to do that? And I began asking questions. Is there a science to getting a yes? And that question led me down a path of discovery where I ended up finding a science.
All right.
So this personality science dates back thousands of years to Hippocrates. He's a Greek philosopher known as the father of medicine. And what he basically figured out was that he could take the entire human race and divide them into 4 different groups. And each group was so different one from another, he could treat them with medicine differently. And this was the origin of what they called the 4 temperaments. Well, when you fast forward to our modern day world, there's been all type of personality assessments that have been created, and a lot of the employers out there use them in the workplace. Assessments like DISC or MBTI, the color code, Berkman method, and so forth. There's literally dozens of them. And when I would take these personality assessments in the beginning, I was fascinated with what I learned about myself. But my fascination turned into frustration because not one of those assessments ever made me more money as an entrepreneur, right? So I was using it in the sales process. And then I realized, wait a minute, okay, if there's 4 different types of people, I wonder if they make buying decisions differently, and I wonder if what makes one person say yes makes another person say no. And I said, okay, well, show me the assessment who can tell me not who I am, because nobody ever cared, right? Like I'd never delivered a sales presentation where the customer interrupts me and says, hey, Cheri, wait, before you go any further, I just want to know your personality type. Like nobody ever does that.
Right.
But I remember thinking, should I know your personality type? And does it matter what I say to trigger a yes or no outcome? So there was no assessment in the market that could tell me who my buyer was. So I said, I'm going to build one on my own. Only instead of basing it in psychology like every other assessment model out there, I'm going to build mine based in what I call biology, spelled B-U-Y-ology, which was the science of buying behavior, or what I later discovered, buy-in behavior, the science of influence. So I ended up building a model called BANK based on the BANK acronym, B-A-N-K. Of course, my tagline was crack the personality code and take it to the bank. So I brought a little demo here on camera if you guys are watching. The BANK system is an acronym where the B stands for blueprint. This is going to be a person. Now, think this could be your employer also. This could be another fellow employee. This could be a C-suite executive. Doesn't matter who, but someone who would classify themselves as a blueprint is very conservative inside the box. They're very rule structured. They're going to follow policies, processes, rules, implementation, budgets, planning, and so forth. So that's this personality type, typically conservative in nature. Well, the A in bank, I use the color red. These people are like red hot firecrackers. The A stands for action. So this is the mover and shaker, millionaire maker. This is probably a very entrepreneur type person in the workplace or entrepreneur outside the workplace. You can't tell them what to do. They make their own rules. They drive their own results. They're seeking their own rewards. Freedom is their ally. And that's the action personality type. The N in the bank acronym stands for nurturing, and I use the color yellow. So nurturing people are warm like sunshine, sweet like honey, and they've got a heart of gold. Well, these people are very relationship centric. They're very emotional. They're feelings based. They care about other people. They want authentic connections. They want to make an impact, and they're not so much motivated by the income. And then the K in bank stands for knowledge. I use the color green. These people are super analytical. They could eat data for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So I thought Microsoft Excel spreadsheet logo. Or in the movie The Matrix, the computer code that falls across the screen is green. Well, these people are very knowledgeable, intelligent, logic-based people. They love technology. They love mastery. They love accuracy, the big picture, and so forth, science. So these people require a completely different communication protocol. So when you add all four up together, it spells out bank, B-A and K. And what I realized was that my customer, or actually for that matter, every person in the world, employees included, are all four parts. Every human is part blueprint, part action, part nurturing, and part knowledge. And that's what I call their bank code. So if you think of a bank code like a pen code, if you were to take out your debit card and go put it into the ATM machine, it wants you to enter a 4-digit pen code if you want your money to come out. What I discovered was that every human had a 4-digit bank code, and if you could communicate to them in that code sequence, a yes would come out. So using this as an experiment in sales, just to put numbers to it, in 1 year, cracking the code of every customer that I would meet with, I'd have them sort these 4 cards into a sequence, and I'd literally role play with them. I'd say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, take a look at these 4 cards, and I just want you to sort them in order and put the one that's most like you on top down to least like you on the bottom. This is going to help me serve you better, get to know you better, save us both some time. Then I would shut up and watch what would happen, because I didn't know what would happen. And every single time, 100% of the time, the client would take these 4 cards, sort them into a sequence, and hand it back. And I thought, is it seriously that easy? They just gave me literally the inside cheat sheet on exactly how to communicate to them and put the dart into the bullseye every single time. Well, in sales, using this as an experiment, my income went from $72,000 over $500,000 in 1 year. Okay, so it was a 7x increase in income, and my time working to get that income increase was cut in thirds, from 60 to 80 hours a week down to 20 to 30, because literally I knew where the bullseye was every single time. So within 3 years, my income was over $1 million. And at that point, what happened was everybody who knew me started saying, can you teach it to me? Can you come speak at our conference? Can you come train our sales organization? And that led me to speaking at some of the greatest conferences around the world, headlining with Tony Robbins, Robert Kiyosaki, Sir Richard Branson. I got invited to teach this at Harvard University, the United Nations. I mean, this thing just went like boom. So that was the story of bank. Now, if we pull this back to an employee engagement perspective, and I had a guy come up to me, I spoke in Singapore, 5,000 people in the audience. He comes up to me and kind of intending to qualify me or potentially discredit me. He asked me 2 questions. He said, are you the inventor of bank or are you one of their spokespeople? And I smiled at him and I said, I'm the inventor of bank. I said, hard to believe, isn't it? And he says, well, do you have a degree in psychology? And I said, no, that's why this works. Right? Like, he didn't know what to do, so he bought our program. He's like, how could this girl crack a code on literally understanding people? And by the way, I was able to crack the code. This is the world's fastest personality assessment. It takes less than 90 seconds. Typical assessment time is probably 30 to 45 seconds. Take a look at the 4 cards, shuffle them in order, hand them back. That's it. So it was so fast, and then once I knew that code sequence, I learned exactly what the formula was of how to communicate to that person to get a yes or a no outcome. So buying behavior on the sales process, or buy-in behavior in the communication process. How do you unlock the buy-in of human beings, and how do you speak to them in a way that can optimize them and communicate to them? And essentially, and this is a big buzzword in corporate, and I'm sure you guys are very familiar with, the 2 words, emotional intelligence. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, and there's a lot of studies that have been done, someone who has high emotional intelligence is just more successful in every category. They make more money. They get more promotions at their career, higher title advancements. They are happier in their marriage. They're happier in their family life. They're happier in their personal life. They're healthier by nature. They live longer because they're good with people. So there's a science to being good with people. And this is the science that I discovered, was this personality science. So emotional intelligence is 2 parts, and let's deconstruct it for everybody listening. Part 1 of emotional intelligence is an understanding of your own self. So a self-awareness, so let's put it through the lens of the bank code. Self-awareness would be to know, what is Cheri's code? My bank code is I'm action first, nurturing second, knowledge third, and blueprint last. So this is my bank code. Let me actually sequence them like that for the camera, okay? This is my bank code. So self-awareness is part 1 of emotional intelligence and ability to self-regulate. Meaning, can I shift into different parts of my code if the situation or the conversation calls for it? Part 2 of emotional intelligence is, do I know your code and can I adapt to meet you where you are? Can I see through your lens? And can I modify myself? Regardless of my code, what if your code was the exact opposite? Can I step into that frame of mind? And one of the best ways that I like to explain it is using languages. So you speak Japanese a little bit. I lived in France. So let's do a quick role play and explain how this really works. What our system teaches is how to be 300% more effective. How can you impact and drive 300% better results? So in the workplace, and I shared, only 23% engagement, which means there's room for a 300% increase if you're wanting to get close to 100% engagement in the workplace. And that will drive results for a company through the roof. That's like a massive, huge shift, right? Well, if we can imagine, and Tony Robbins, he taught me, let your prospect determine your presentation, right? So let the prospect or let the employee determine the communication. There's 4 different types of people, then we should have different ways of communicating with them. So number 1, do we have an awareness of what the codes are of our employees? And are we communicating to them in a way that unlocks that yes versus no outcome? So if we use a language as an example, let's say that the B in bank represents the baseline language. My native language is English. When I go speak to someone in English and they also speak natively English, of course, we're going to have like a match, right? That's the baseline. Well, what about when I go speak to the other personality types? Like, let's say this one, the A for action, the red one. Let's say they don't speak any English at all. They only speak French. Well, if I try to jam my philosophy to them in English and they only speak French, there's going to be a total disconnect and a breakdown in communication, which happens all across the workplace, all the time, every day. Right? One of the number 1 causes of failure is breakdown in communication in the employee place. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my blue lens off, in this case, put my red lens on, and I'm going to speak French to this person. I'm going to say, Bonjour, je m'appelle Cheri, j'ai habité en France pour 3 ans quand j'étais petite, enchanté. Now, if you happen to speak French, you know exactly what I said. If you do not speak French, you might say, that sounded cool. I'm in the mood for a croissant right now, right? Okay. But you didn't understand any of my communication, and therefore you're not going to engage with me. You're not going to connect with me, and I'm not going to be able to influence you. So I have now, by speaking French to the person who speaks French, I've increased my influence by a factor of 100%. Because instead of getting a yes or a buy-in engagement from 1 out of the 4, I can now get one from 2 out of 4. You see that? Well, what about when I go meet the third personality type, the yellow one, N for nurturing? Let's say they don't speak any English or French at all. They speak Romanian. And you might say, well, wow, I'm going to be out of luck because I don't speak any Romanian. But what if you did? And what if you were trained to do so and you say, Bună ziua, mă numesc Cheri, am fost misionară pentru biserica mea, am locuit în România pentru 1 an jumate, îmi pare bine. And all of a sudden the person who speaks Romanian is like, you're speaking my language. Or in this case, you're speaking my code. This now makes me 200% more effective because instead of getting engagement from 1 out of the 4, now I can get 2 out of 4, 3 out of 4. And now that only leaves this last one left, the K. Let's say the K stands for Korean, or let's say in this case with you, Jimmy, Japanese. So you might suddenly switch and you might say, Hajimemashite, dozo yoroshiku onegaishimasu. And all of a sudden the Japanese person is automatically, they're literally going to go into a bow formation, Hajimemashite, and they're going to greet me exactly where I'm at. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Wakaru.
Wakaru. Okay. So,
Wakata.
yeah, Osaka. Yeah, I don't know that much Japanese. But
Neither does Jimmy.
in this case, right, I know, because we secretly have Koby over here that's like, speaking my language. Okay, so my example of this is I can now communicate in all four codes like languages, making me 300% more effective than if I force the person receiving my communication to only receive it my way. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Are you kidding me? And I'm blown away over here because you're utilizing this for sales. But I think this is a very human necessity across the board because it's communication, and the way you're presenting it to me, I think it's incredible.
You're 100%. So, Koby, this is exactly how this expanded, because I only intended this to be a sales tool because that's where it was born. That was the need I was filling for my own self and then for others that were around me. But what happened is people started coming through bank workshops or code breaker summits, as I like to call them. They started coming up to me saying, Cheri, this not only helps me make more money, but you just saved my marriage. And I said, well, how did I do that? And they're like, well, because I got the bank code of my spouse. I've been married for 20 years. I didn't know their bank code. And I was like, whoa, mind blown. And then I had families that said, this just made me a better parent. And I said, well, how did it do that? They're like, well, because we just cracked the code of our children, and we've been parenting them in a one-size-fits-all approach, but actually they have different codes, and we need to completely modify the way we're parenting our own children. Some of them even said, I've been parenting them wrong their entire lives. I mean, huge breakthroughs. And I had a family come to me and say, this just prevented a suicide. And I was like, how did it do that? And the kid was being bullied based on its bank code at school, and it didn't feel accepted in the home because he was a different bank code than the other family members, and he didn't feel good enough. And so this is when the whole concept went from our tagline of take it to the bank, which still applies in sales, to make people matter. Because if I genuinely care about you, then I want to know your bank code, because that means I'm going to deliberately communicate to you in a way that works for you. And then respectfully, I'm going to ask that you know what my bank code is and that you communicate back to me in a reciprocity format based on my bank code. That is emotional intelligence at play. So bank was really this undercover emotional intelligence communication protocol that was just mind-blowing on the outcomes. And we started having people using it in schools and teachers cracking the codes of students and modifying the way that they were instructing students from primary schools all the way through universities that were piloting the bank programs. Then it started to go into companies, and we've done training programs for Google and Shell and Unilever and, large corporations, GoDaddy, like the list just goes on and on. That's why I got invited to speak at the HR conference, because they said, wow, well, really we're all in sales, because what we're really all in is influence and communication. And that's where I started to realize this was not a sales tool per se. It was an influence tool. And if we can teach the art and science of influence and how to communicate effectively and powerfully, you can change the game forever. Yeah. So that's like a superhero moment for the average person. And if you can bring that framework into your workplace, then you can make employees matter. And I bet you will unleash this reservoir of human potential, the likes of which your company has never experienced before.
Fascinating.
Mic drop. Bye, guys. Gotta go.
You're
Nice
right.
to meet
That's
everyone.
a mic drop, because I rarely get speechless, and this is an incredible program. Rarely meaning never. So this is great, Jimmy.
So,
See, Jimmy's speechless.
Is your primary protocol to teach leadership how to understand and use the bank code, or do you also extend that education to the employee directly.
Yeah, we do both. We do top down, bottom up, and everything in between. Because the reality is, like, who in the organization would be not important enough to understand the code or apply the code? Everyone.
And so do you do it in coursework?
Yeah.
Or
Well, we
direct one-on-one?
as an organization, we do a number of things. One, we can train and consult, but we like to license our model. We like to certify internal employees inside the organizations, typically the talent, learning and development, HR type people that are going to go and train for the organization can get certified in our methodology. And we've certified over 1,000 people, and we've got independent certified trainers in countries around the world. And then inside organizations, we're just now bringing it to corporations where they can certify their soldiers internally and have that person be the advocate for the program inside the organization that doesn't require us to come in from outside all the time. And then we built the technology, and we haven't even talked about that. We started to build technology that could crack someone's code electronically and capture that data so that you could now know how to communicate effectively. And then we built artificial intelligence because the question was, could I guess what your code is? Could I pull up your LinkedIn profile, click a button on it, have our AI analyze the entire profile and generate an output of a bank code prediction, and then guide me on how I need to engage with you? How do I message you? How do I have a conversation with you? How do I recruit you if I'm hiring to my company? How do I sell to you? And so forth. All based on that. We built that called Codebreaker AI, which we call the AI of influence. Okay, so we call the bank methodology the code of influence, and our AI is the AI of influence, all around the model of influence that dates back thousands of years.
Man.
You must have a staff of thousands.
Well, we have independent, like I said, we've certified over 1,000 people, so we've got our version of soldiers or ambassadors all over the world. Matter of fact, I got introduced to you guys from one of our certified trainers from France. Okay, Véronique Ficheux, if I were to say that correctly. As correct as I can, oui. But, and then we've got close to 500,000 people who have used or consumed the bank methodology, taken our assessments, and we feel like it's a great start, but it's a drop in the bucket because our real goal is to crack the code of 8 billion humans, which is audacious, but it's every human in the world.
Right.
It may not happen in my lifetime, but here's what I know for a fact. Every human has a code, a bank code, and they're either going to go to their grave with that code still locked inside, or they're going to meet a code breaker, and they're going to get access to a key or a code to unlock that. And I believe that their life will transform the moment they get access to that code for themselves, and then a key to go unlock the code of others. And that's kind of what our mission is.
Have you already begun to work on programs at the elementary, junior high, high school level?
We have pilot programs in education. Some of our certified trainers have education backgrounds, school principals, superintendents, deans of universities that fell in love with the bank methodology, got certified with us, and then brought it into the classroom or into the universities on their own initiatives. And they've conducted incredible pilot programs, and we've got some remarkable case studies. To be honest, they were blown away with the results, the engagement, the student performance, the outcomes, the enrollments, the retention. It was a game changer inside those organizations culturally. So it's just spreading, yeah.
Well, to have that skill set as a youngster, right, and have them be able to apply that the communication piece alone, right, and we all often talk about putting ourselves in the other person's shoes before we respond, before we take action on something.
I'm going to show you. We created something for kids, and I'm going to get it from the prop in the studio here. It's going to fall out of the sky. But my spouse and I have a little 5-year-old kid, and prior to even having kids, a lot of parents wanted to know the bank code of their children. So I thought, well, the words that are on these cards are not appropriate for young children to understand them well enough. And so I thought, well, maybe a picture says 1,000 words. So we created the pictograph version. If you guys are looking at this on camera, these were like the icon versions of the cards, like pictographs, or like if I was a caveman, this is what I'd be carving inside my cave back in the day. And I tested them on my nieces and nephew originally. And I had a nephew that was, I thought for sure action. He's playing school sports. He's, I thought he was pretty action, which is like me. And when he cracked his code, he put the green knowledge one on top. And I was like, what? I thought you were cool. No, I'm just kidding. That's my joke. That's what an A would say. And I said, wow. Okay. So I said, tell me why you're playing school sports and stuff. And he said, to make my dad happy. And I never forgot that moment. Because what we found, and we ended up consequently building a full-blown relationships course, dating, marriage, parenting, because what we were finding was that parents were raising their children based on the code they wish they were instead of the kid they actually had. So understanding that child's code is incredible, especially with the amount of bullying and teenage suicide. Did you know that more than 3,000 teenagers a day are attempting suicide in our country? That means every month we're filling up a stadium full of people, teenagers, our kids, that are attempting to take their life because they don't feel connected or understood. So, by the way, I now have a 5-year-old. He was born the year of COVID in May 2020. That's a whole nother story because I'm the one who carried him, and that was a whole miracle all by itself. But when he was 3.5 years old, we had our film crew over at our home. We were filming some marketing material, and we said, you know what? Let's see if we can crack the code of our own son. He's 3.5 years old, and we put these 4 cards out on the kitchen table, and the film crew was filming to see what would happen. And sure enough, the code that we thought he was, he picked it in the exact sequence right in front of us, which was a very cool moment. He's nurturing first. Like, he's like a loving little snuggle bug. We love him so much. His name's Kai, Hawaiian for ocean. And then he's action second. And then he was knowledge third and blueprint last. And that was just a cool moment as a parent to capture the code of our own kid. And it has come up several times in our marriage and in a parenting scenario where we needed to modify. My spouse and I are both action. We needed to modify the way we were engaging with him, or the way that we were maybe trying to coach, mentor, or reprimand him, and change the tone of our voice to meet him from a nurturing perspective and not maybe more of an aggressive action perspective. And it alters the way that the chemistry of our own relationship with our child. So it's a magical thing.
It is.
Yeah.
I'm going to switch gears just slightly.
Yeah.
Given your comment about suicide, do you do any work with charities that work with those types of youth?
Well, I love that you say that. So just a year ago, we launched the Codebreaker Foundation. And the foundation is like our version of a matching program like Bombas socks or Tom's shoes, where whenever you buy a Codebreaker program or subscribe to our technology, we donate an equal one to a school or to a nonprofit that can't afford it but needs it. And we just got back this last year from a humanitarian mission. We went off to Africa, and there was probably a dozen or more trainers that came with us, and we went down and we taught bank in a primary school, a secondary school, and a high school. And it was a remarkable experience to see the transformation in those kids' eyes. Many of them did not have 2 adults in their family. They're struggling schools. We wanted to go to the inner city, or what South Africa would consider the townships, right? Where they just don't have the lifestyle that we do in America, very third world, and teach those children the bank system and how to communicate and how to use that in order to help them advance in life and get ahead by mastering their ability to communicate with others. So yeah. Again, this is why we're expanding, and we're looking for strategic partners, companies, organizations that want to pull bank into their organizations and use it. Also companies that want to donate and give back and have some of their contributions be able to come to the Codebreaker Foundation so that we can continue to go do the work to make people matter and make kids matter, which is our nonprofit side.
Well, we definitely want to be part of that cause. This was meant to happen. I am a known empath to the nth degree. And
He's a yellow, y'all.
Yeah, total nurture right here. Can you crack his code?
you're touching me in ways that are unimaginable. And coincidentally, today at 10:59 this morning, I get a text message from someone who I haven't seen in 13, 14 years, who says that she's involved with a group called Hope in Action, Teen Mental Wellness and Suicide Prevention. And would I love to get you in touch with her and that organization and see if there's things that you can
100%.
do together. We're also involved with a group called Creation for Cause. They focus primarily on the homeless community here in town, the IDD, intellectually and developmentally disabled community, the incarcerated community, and getting them to move from incarceration back into mainstream.
I even have trainers that take this to prisons or people who are just coming out of prison and teaching them. And you won't believe the ahas that they're having as they go look back at maybe some of the decisions they made in their life that took them down the wrong path. If they had known the code, would they have chosen differently, right?
Sure.
I mean, it was really amazing to hear these stories of these grown men crying and feeling like they had a gap that they needed filled, and this was one of them.
Well, we would love to get you involved in that community here in town.
Thank you.
And we would like to be a big part of it.
Thank you.
Whether it means we become trainers, and I don't know. But right now, I am absolutely blown away with what you have to offer and what you've done and what you're going to do. As you say, you've hit such a small portion of society. Right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
8 billion is the number.
I mean,
it's
because
a lot
what
to go,
human
but that
doesn't
should be the
deserve
goal.
this, right?
Absolutely.
Like that's how.
This
That's
is
what,
this is definitely something that needs to be massive. It needs to be brought out because our not just our country but the world state right now is not great as far as human mindset. It's really bad. Everybody's divided. Everybody's fighting. Nobody's on the same page, and we can't even just agree to disagree now like we used to be able
Oh
to.
yeah,
So
it's gotten nutso, and
Yeah, facts.
it is exactly like this is exactly what humankind needs. So our vision is 8 billion codes. Our mission is to connect and empower humanity, and our mantra is make people matter. So that's why when I was invited to your podcast, I thought, well, I don't spend so much time on the employee side, although we keep getting pulled into that. And I think that's because, the workplace needs it too. These organizations absolutely need it too. After speaking at that HR conference, I thought for sure. But humanity needs this. We need to learn how to communicate. I'll end with this. What the bank system has done for me personally, way beyond the money, is it has made me a kinder, more loving, less judgmental human being. I love people more than ever before when I factor in their code. People who would normally totally annoy me from an action point of view, like driving here and having the slow person in front of me that's like, oh my God, that's what the right lane is for. I think the left lane should be for actions only, right? You need to show your bank code in order to go into that. Forget the carpool lane. You just need to be in action, and then we're just going to hit it, right? Okay.
Oh my
But
God.
I know that it's a little blueprint in front of me that's tapping their brakes, or it's a nurturing person that's like talking to the person driving and not paying attention to me behind them. Okay. It's made me a better human being. So I think if we can share a dose of this with every single person around the world, the sooner the better. That's the only way we're going to heal our nation and our humanity.
Amen.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I know you're very pressed for time, so if we can take 30 seconds, however long it takes. This is the section of the show that we call Shameless Self-Promotion. So can you let our audience know how to get in touch with you, your website? Your
Absolutely. I want to give a gift to everybody, and it's the gift of cracking your code, right? Because if you guys were here with me in the studio, I'd hand you the cards. I'm going to hand you the cards electronically. You're going to get a link to crack your code for free as our gift to you in the show notes. When you do, you're going to go to a website All right, with that link where you're literally going to scroll down and see the 4 digital versions of these cards. And by the way, we've translated them to 35 different languages. So all you're going to do is drag and drop the 4 cards into the sequence. If you're on a desktop, it's going to be horizontal. If you're on your mobile, it'll be vertical. And when you're done, you can fill in your name, phone number, email, and click submit, and we will send you your own bank code report, which is going to be a cool report summary of you and what makes you tick, what makes you matter, and then we're going to give you some really powerful tips on how to communicate differently in order to optimize the relationships that you have with people that are different from you. Okay, so that's going to be our gift to you, to crack your code. And then, of course, if you want more information, you guys can hunt us down, get access to our company. We're looking for people that want to get certified in the methodology. If you have the heart of a teacher and you want to go out there and teach or preach the bank methodology, you can certainly monetize it and you can create impact from it. Our whole model is about driving influence, income, and impact for communities and humanity. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for being on the show. I apologize, Koby, because I
No, we're good. We're good. This is great.
okay.
We're great. You all right?
I'm great.
I'm going to go ahead and start closing this out. So,
All right, let's close it out.
But I just want to say thank you for coming. I'm definitely going to be one of the ones. I'm an action person. I am nurturing, but it's a little bit lower down based on what you gave. But I think we're similar as far as how we act and actions. But I love this concept. I definitely want to utilize it. I think we're going to definitely do a couple of promotions on ours as sponsors. No cost to you guys to be able to promote this, because I think this should be everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Everywhere, everybody. Any place where there needs to be, where there's interaction between two or more individuals, this needs to be understood and in place.
Yeah.
Amen.
So
Thank
with
you
that,
so
this has
much.
been Great Employees Matter. Thank you for joining us. Come back every week, 2 p.m. Check us out. Great guests, great topics, great shows. We'll see you later.
Today's show is sponsored by Waylot. Waylot helps businesses grow smarter, faster, and stronger. With tools that uncover your strengths, strategies that drive results, and systems that keep you on track, Waylot takes the guesswork out of success. Visit waylot.com today, that's WAYLOTT.com, and discover how clarity and confidence can transform your business. Big thanks to Waylot for supporting today's show.